what we say, seeing what the contradictions are, figuring out ways to deal with things. So therefore, everyone meditates. Everyone is a meditationer, not just people who sit in a room, breathing in and out. No, no, no. Everyone is a meditation. Everyone who thinks is a meditationer. So now going back to meditation, sit down, look at yourself. Most important part of meditation is always looking at yourself. Looking at yourself, I don't mean, somehow magically pulling something outside and looking at you. No, also not like that, but looking at your inner self, right? Where you are at, what you are doing, whether what you are doing makes sense or not. Why am I here? Yeah? Sometimes you can have this epiphany, we call it, right? Epiphany, small kinds of epiphany, where you are sitting and you just realize that that your eyes are blinking, that your hands are moving, and then you think, am I doing this right now? Am I capable of doing this? And then you say, okay, let's give it a try. So you say, okay, I want to pick up the pen. Pick up the pen. You say, wow, I have that power to pick up the pen. I'm alive. Right? That's the sense that you get, the epiphany that you get. Now, this ability to realize oneself is a small part of what we call um, the first level to uh, shamatha, we call it, right? What do you call shamatha in English? Calm abiding or calm abiding. And one of the first things into understanding calm abiding is realizing yourself. So your existence has to be aware, not by others. The whole world is proving to show your existence to others. I want others to know me. I want others to respect me. I want others to give me likes. I want others to, that it's all about others making the validation on you. Now, the real meditation is validating yourself, being aware that you are alive, being aware that you have the capability to stand up, walk, talk, reason, logic, decide, change. That's real meditation, right? So, in order to be able to awarely proceed into something like that, the first thing you need to do is find out who you are. Yeah? And then finding who you are, one of the things why we are talking about Buddhism, why religion, why spirituality? Uh, if you look from a scientific perspective, life is quite easy, right? It's all about reproduction, getting your genes on to the next, what do we call, next generation, right? And die. That's it. And while you are alive doing that, then you eat to survive, you and then there's all these chemicals running inside your brain, which which feed you certain kind of energies. So you do things to do fun, maybe get a little bit drunk, a little bit tipsy, that makes you go a little bit numb, that feels good maybe. And that's life. That's quite simplified. But is there an understanding of yourself within that? No. Right? That is way beyond. Takes a long way to reach there, actually. Now, one of the things that we say when we say humans are more, what do you say? What is the word? Superior. We say superior. Humans are more superior than animals. Why? Because animals only, depending on animal, certain animal only have the capacity to think for one day. Right? So survive that day. Find food that day, good enough. Go on the side of the road, sleep in the sun. Enjoy life. Right? Certain animals hibernate and they eat all spring, summer they eat, and in the winter they go hibernating 6 months. Now they have the capacity to think a little bit further than the other animals. Now humans, we have capacity to think 100 years forward. Yeah? By the age of 16, 17, 18, people already making plannings for 60 years, 70 years. When I retire, I'm going to have this and this and that and that, and I'm going to do this and this. Yeah, we're superior in that way. We have that capacity to what do we say, walk forward, look forward, plan, and do all of this and forward. Now we say one difference between just being a human and being a spiritual human or a religious human. Again, we say there's a what do you say, superiority. And the reason behind this is not because the people who go into religion have certain powers that they can fly and do that and do that is all the myth. Now the reason behind the superiority that we talk about is the capability to not just this life, next life. Yeah, the capacity to logically plan for next life. So there's again one difference. Think about it. Not saying you need to agree with me, something you can think about it. Whatever we talk today is things that you can contemplate. I want you to contemplate, reason, see whether it makes sense or not. If it doesn't make sense, then you can change the perspective again. I really want to talk about perspectives later on, which I think this is one of my favorite topics, very important. But anyway, so now being able to understand all of this has to do with, like I said, it has to come back to reasoning and uh, objective reality. Understand what reality is, and not reality in others, but reality within you. People have different experiences. Some people have gone through trauma. Some people have gone through so much experience that they can't handle. Some people have had a quite meaningful, luxurious life. Some people come, I mean, all kinds of different backgrounds you come from. And with certain experiences, we seek things. Yeah. Now comes religion. You have problem, you have this, you have that, you have suffering. You go to the hospital cannot do anything to you and for you. You go. It's the same thing with Buddha's story, right? When he saw the four sufferings, then he goes in search of some kind of liberation from those sufferings. So he tries all kinds of different things. He goes to one kind of what we say order, and there they say, oh, you sleep on top of a nail bed, you reach some kind of enlightenment. He does that, doesn't work. Then some say, oh, you need to eat fire. You eat fire, doesn't work, your throat gets worse. Some say, oh, you need to run into water. Run into water. Some say you need to meditate inside water. Some people say you need to get up 3 a.m. in the morning and walk up the hill and do some kind of ritual on top of the hill, and you'll get some kind of liberation. And there's tons of these kinds of, what do you call, these kinds of different things that you can do, and things that people but at the end of the day, what really works for you? That's the question. Some people find meaning in doing that. Getting up every morning at 3 p.m., walking up the hill. They find meaning in that. It makes sense to them. So now that becomes spiritual path for them. Not saying that that shouldn't make sense and you shouldn't do that. For some people, it makes sense. Now, some religions do things differently than other religion. Whatever it is, at the end of the day, what I'm saying is finding your path, the reason why you came into all of this, right? You need to think about those things. And I always say, if you are a practitioner, spiritual practitioner, it doesn't matter where you are at, what you are doing, how you are doing. These things are on a very basic reality level. What really matters is being able to come down to the basics every evening. And that's the evening meditation, right? Coming down and figuring out why it's important to you. Why finding yourself is important to you. Why should you find yourself? Okay, let's say you did find yourself. What are you going to do next? Yeah, with yourself. So these things, you need to have a certain kind of outlining of all of that. And therefore, like I said, one of the first things when it comes to meditation is finding yourself. Finding yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually. Physically finding yourself, not so hard. Yeah? Physically finding yourself, a lot of people do normally. They get up, they wash their face, see if everything's okay. Hair, clothes, designers' clothes. I don't know what any kind of clothes. These are all finding yourself. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Mm. On what basis is the idea of not to find yourself there? That's emptiness. Yeah, you're talking very deep. It's a practice. Yes. So there are levels in practice, right? Always you need to understand there's a level in practice. There's a level in studies, right? First, you study 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then next level you study 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? So there is always a level in studies. If you go deep in, we're going to talk about that, emptiness, but if you go deep into understanding reality, what reality is, how, then it comes, like I told you earlier, perspective is the important part. Emptiness is just a view. You need to know that. A lot of people mistake emptiness to not be a view and something reality. Something you can project, something that is infinitely existing in something. No. It's merely a view. A view that you can apply to yourself in order to negate the self-grasping attitude. We say, "Tangzing marikpa, Ramajan, me, my, I, the pride." So in practice, humblicity, letting go of pride, anger, these are important. Why? Because these give you peace. If you are dealing with anger, the results are going to be the result of anger, right? If you're dealing with peace, the result is going to be peace. That's why some people who are able to control that within themselves, they can deal with anything very calmly, very happily. Some people, small issue, all over the place. Now, the reason behind this is the motivation, the perspective you are carrying. And now, that's why we talk about negating anger, hatred, what do we say? Destructive emotions. Now, when you're talking about destructive emotions, then you're talking about self-grasping attitude being one of the root of it. We say the root ignorance, and from the root ignorance comes the grasping attitude, the anger, all those those what you call gross emotions. So now, when it comes to the self-grasping attitude, you need to understand what self-grasping attitude is. Anyway, we will talk about that later on. But the difference here, finding yourself means finding yourself as in your existence, because that's real. No matter how much you say I don't exist, I don't exist, I don't exist, you're going to exist, right? You can say I don't exist, and meditate on it the whole day. By the end of the day, you will get hungry, you will want to drink water. If you get thirsty, you have to drink. There's no escaping that, right? There's uh, this saying that that when you stop yourself from breathing, then you start to find that the body, the whole, the mind, everything wants air. So then you start to find the reality there. You find the existence there. So anyway, so we will talk about that later on, emptiness, as we go further on into perspectives, grasping attitudes, and then we talk about the tenfold paths. I'll roughly touch all of that. Maybe not in detail, unless you want to go in detail in question answers, we can do that. But I'll roughly touch all of that. So the difference here, like I said, one is a view, Yeah, selflessness. We say, yeah? Is that selflessness? Selflessness is a mere view, a view that you have obstructed an object, making the object exist. Yeah? So some things are more important than others, right? My phone is more important to me than is important to you. If my phone falls down and breaks, it won't make a big difference to you, but it make a big difference to me. I'll be saying, oh, all my photos are in here, all my contacts are in here, all my schedule is in here, that and this. I have a whole bunch of different list of reasons I can give you why it's important to me. Now that is merely labeled. That doesn't exist. But the phone exists. I mean, I can call you, right? I can make it work. So the understanding the differentiation between those two when it comes to understanding yourself, and then also coming to the understanding the perspective, the view you apply to yourself. These are two different things. Talk about data. So finding yourself, yeah. Come back to finding yourself. So finding yourself, you will see, you know, since the day we are born all the way up as we grow, we are learning new things, experiences. You meet one person, you get a new experience. You meet another person, teaches you something, it gives you a different idea. Oh wow, yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah. New experience. Then and you meet another person who's wiser and says, no, that's not right. This is right, this is right. Oh yeah. Again, a new experience. So every step of your life, you're coming with knowledge, gaining more background information on 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 the importance of your existence. What is important to you? Some people say, oh, the most important to me is money. Why is money important to me? That's a very important question, right? You know it's important to you, but you must also know why. So these are the questions you reflect on, you what we say, you contemplate on while meditating. So first step, like I said, always, if you want to find something, sit down, meditate, reason with yourself logically. No emotions involved. The minute emotion is involved, you're going to make up a ton of things. Yeah, that's where emptiness comes into play. Yeah. So the moment you are emotionally involved, mere human being becomes a god. Yeah. uh, uh, a, a plastic object becomes, a metal object becomes, billions of dollars. These are all merely labeled, emotionally involved. Yeah, not objective reality. These are objective production of perspectives that you have applied, and somehow tuned it to become reality to you. So understanding why is important, right? So things that are important to you, why? And this is not just with, we are talking spirituality now, dharma, but in anything you're doing in life, that's the important question you need to ask yourself always. Now coming to religion and spirituality, now you ask another question: why am I here? Why am I interested in courses? Why am I doing all these courses? I'm spending so much money coming all the way over here doing this 10 days. What have I gained out of that? Ah, this is a question I should be asking. No, it's important. What have I achieved out of that? Some people say, oh, go do 1 month retreat. You go do 1 month retreat, come back. What have I gained out of that? What has changed within me? 10 days ago, me, and 10 days after me doing all of that retreat. What is the difference? Do I feel lighter? Yeah, maybe some retreat don't want, they only give you 1 meal a day. Maybe you feel a little bit healthier. Yeah? So that is physical, but then mentally. Because this you are doing because you want to change mentally. You are not doing because you want to change physically. If you want to do because you want to change physically, go to a gym. Why go to a retreat? Right? Yeah, you go to a gym, pump up, or I don't know, go on a dieting or something like that, right? You do one of those. Now comes not physically, mentally. I did this, because, mentally I want to improve. Mentally there's a problem. There's a, I'm dealing with something that I don't know how to deal with. It can be anything. Like I said, every person has a different background. Every person comes from a different background. Every person comes from different experiences. And those experiences and background and knowledge and all of that creates who you are right now mentally. Your way of thinking, your way of seeing. Yeah, your whole life, since your father, mother, everyone teaches you about money, 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 money. You're going to become a very financially, what do we say, mentally financial person. Is that the right word? Yeah? And then you come from a scientific background where your father, mother both are scientists and always talking about science, science, science. Religion is not going to make any difference to you. You're going to stick to that. So, like I said, experiences that you have had, that's where you reach this here. Now, experiences that you choose to take forward. Yeah, I want to go there and do 1 month retreat. I want to go there and listen to this teaching. I want to go there and receive this initiation. Now, these are choices that you are making to make a difference. I don't know. If you're not making difference, then why? You're wasting your time. Huh? You might as well go and do something else, right? That's more productive. But no. You're doing this in order to bring change. But you need to know what you are willing, what you are bringing in to make change, what you are changing into, right? So this, again, like I said, meditation. When it comes to meditation, understanding this, asking yourself this is important. So now, once you have done that and you have asked and you have gotten a certain, not a clear answer, but maybe a rough answer of why you're doing all of this, what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. Now, some people, even if they don't want to do, they're forced into doing. That doesn't bring results. Some results maybe, but normally here, not so much results, right? Because the willingness is not there, the aspiration is not there, the effort is, none of those are going to be there. Your body is going to be there for sure, but no aspiration, no enjoyment, no that, no this. You're like a machine by then, right? It's like going to the office and doing your job, right? In an office where you don't want to be, you just do this, do this, you're not getting anything other than the money, right? There's no changes up here. So now, because of these things, now important thing becomes why spirituality is important to you. Then comes the second question: what is spirituality to you? One of the most important things that I say is understanding spirituality is there's no one kind of spirituality. Everyone has a different kind of spirituality. Now, one of the things about Buddhism that when I've studied and I've done all of that is I see countless possibilities in Buddhism, unlike a lot of other religions. Buddhism is very, very, very logical and it's very flexible. 2,500 years ago, totally different from what it is right now. Forget about 2,500 years ago. In the 80 something years that Buddha was alive, Buddha's teaching changed from place to place to place to place to place. Here he would say everything doesn't exist. Here he would say everything exists. Here he would say this is intrinsic and that is not intrinsic. Here he would say this is based on a what do we say, obscured view of intrinsic nature. And then here he would say no, it's all reality and it's based on the teachings changed. That's not because Buddha was crazy or anything. That's because there were so many different mindsets and everything worked for someone else different. We can make sense of that by a very general perspective. Some kids need to be beaten up, some kids need to be loved. Different scenarios. There's a saying, I think it's sort of Nepali saying, that Nepali kids have to be beaten. Westerners don't. They understand. Don't they understand. Nepali kids, they don't understand. You tell them 10, 20 times. So these are respect. I'm just giving you a logic, some logic. But anyway, the idea behind it is that things work for other people differently. Right? You want to relax. Some people like to go and watch a movie. What? Relax. You want to relax? Some people like to go to a spa and relax in the jacuzzi or something like that. Now for relaxation, some people go and run the whole day doing sports, football and all of that. So these are relaxation. It works for differently for everyone. Someone who goes to the spa to relax, if you send him to the football field to relax, no, you can't do that. You have to work for it. So everyone has works in different ways. So now I always say the pinnacle of being spiritually awakened is finding out what works for you. Not because someone told you so. Our teacher says, oh, this is how you should do. This is the tenfold path. This is what you need to follow. And this is it. There's no other way. Someone who says that to you, I would say totally wrong. No. If you are starting to follow something like that, then you will have to know that more or less it won't work for you. It works, these kinds of different kinds of methods work for certain people, but it doesn't work for everyone. So one of the first spiritual steps that you can take is understanding what works for you. And that's why understanding who you are, what your mind is important. Without understanding that, you can't figure that out. Right? So now we're coming to spirituality. Now when it comes to spirituality, like I said, awakening, first thing I always say is you need to find a method that works for you. Now, when it comes to Buddhism philosophy, Buddhist philosophy is so flexible that I've been a philosopher for the last 19 years, and we would debate each and every day on each and every topic, starting from mind and mental factors all the way to Vinaya and Abhidhamma Kosh. So these are topics, right? The Abhidhamma Kosh is those things. Vinaya holds a whole different chapter on verses of morality, ethics. What is moral? What is ethical? Yeah, what do we say? Discipline. Why is discipline important? So it touches all of that. Then you have paramita, which touches things like what do we say? Things like improvements that you can do within yourself, like the, the 10 paramitas, the four noble truths, stuff like that. Things that you can work on. And then you have bhajan, which touches views like emptiness, renunciation, impermanence. These are all views, okay? Understand? Don't put this in a fact where someone says emptiness and you think, oh, nothing exists. Don't put it there. Always see is at something that you can apply to work on yourself. These are all teachings that you can do in that. Then we have um, logic and and reasoning. We call namdil, right? Logic and reasoning, which 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 teaches you the methods that you can. So now, understanding all of this, at the end of the day, what you get is you get the idea behind it, why, the idea behind how, the idea behind how you can, logically understand those and try to get some sense out of it. So that's why the teachings differ. Now there's 84,000 teachings of the Buddha, and that's condensed. Okay, 84,000 teachings of the Buddha condensed. Within the 84,000 teachings, there's so many different chapters based on what you want to understand, learn, study. Why 84,000 teachings? Four Noble Truths make sense. Why not just that? Right? Basically, if you look at Buddhism from a wider angle, you'll see that everything is included in the Four Noble Truths. But how in depth does Four Noble Truths go? What does it touch? There's a big difference there. The things that Four Noble Truths touches doesn't go as deep as you can go. In order to understand something, you need to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. That's how science became so popular, because it goes researching so deep into things, right? What is this made out of? Cloth? What is cloth made out of? That? What is that made out of? Atoms? What is atoms made out of? Molecules, and so on and so forth. So you go deeper and deeper, and then you get a wider understanding of how things work. So exactly same. There's an outline of things, and then you can go deeper into understanding those things. Not saying that you have to, but you can. It's a choice. Then we have the different approaches to Buddhism. Now, Buddhism, like I said, while Buddha was alive, there were so many different philosophies that Buddhism taught. That's why there were so many debates. And one of the best things that Buddha actually contributed is the debate. He taught one person it exists. He said to her it doesn't exist. He said to her it exists. To her it's merely labeled that. So he gave everyone an option to debate, and then they started debating themselves, but not debating like punching and shoving each other, but debating as in logically reasoning and finding out reasons and proving their facts and points. And what that did was that made people understand things better. Right? The more conversation. One of the things I normally say is in a lot of the teachings nowadays, there's no conversation. Right? The teacher is sitting up there talking hour. This is how it works. This is the in the wheel of that, and from here you go here, and then you follow that. Something like that. There's no conversation. There's not. How does it work? What is it? That has to be there. And if it's not within two people, it has to be within yourself to understand things better. So, different approaches to Buddhism now takes while Buddha was alive and then after Buddha passed away. Since 2,600, 700 years ago till now, it has changed. It went up to China, it took a whole different form. It went down to Vietnam, it took a whole different form. It went up to Tibet, changed so much. Now, a lot of these things are intertwined with culture, with lifestyles, with what people like, what people don't like. And people did all kinds of different changes. That's the thing about, why I'm not a big fan of religion that, not religion, but Buddhism that is intertwined with culture, is because, to a point, there is something there, but to a point, a lot of things are lost there as well. Now, the philosophical part has been maintained so well, throughout history, starting from Nalanda. After Buddha passed away, through his disciples into Nalanda, one of the biggest philosophical monasteries in India in those times. All people from all these different regions and places from Pakistan and India and Afghanistan and China, everyone would come there and debate to understand things. And then it moved on to all these different places. Now, even in Tibet, you go into Tibet, you would start to see that there are different sects. Is it sects? Yeah. So you said, like you said, Nyingma sect, Gelu sect, Burn sect, this sect, that sect, so all kinds of different. So now these are all, like I said, branches of what people feel comfortable with. I'm not telling you to create your own. That's not good. But what works for you is a whole different thing. That one you can create within yourself. What works for you. I have a friend. She not so what was the cultural, not so simple life. I know One day I asked her, "What is Buddhism to you?" And then she says, "Oh, I do this thing. I get up every morning and I cook two." She has these huge, what is it, cooking pots, right? So she says she cooks two huge pots of dog food and takes them and goes around Nepal and feeds the dogs. And he said, that's Buddhism to me. And I said, "But why?" And he said, "Because it makes sense to me." It's as easy as that, right? It's something that Buddhism teaches, that first brought her into Buddhism. The first pulling of, that happens. We say the spark. There's always a spark. Every time with anything, there's always a spark. A lot of people, once they go into that, they start losing the spark, and it becomes a daily routine. Oh, I must do this. I must do this. I must do this. Why? Because for the sake of doing, not because it makes a difference and it touches my heart and makes it. No, because I have to do it. That's not logical, is it? I don't think that's logical at all. So that's what I always say when it comes to spirituality, dharma, especially dharma, you need to understand. You need to keep that spark here. And in order to keep that spark in here, what you do is every day you need to see where it all started from. Same thing with marriage. I do consultation. I'm a we say life coaching consultation therapist. So I give consultation, and when it comes to what we say couples therapy, yeah, couples therapy, people have problem. The first question I always ask is, where did it all start from? Not the problem, but the two of you. Yeah, where was the spark? When did it happen? How did it happen? Then the next question is it still there or not? Most of the time, no. That's why they lose the in-tuneness. It's not that they don't want that spark. It's just that it has gotten lost throughout the time. So now my main object when it comes to that is reminding them and making them consistent with the spark. If they do want to carry on the family, the relationship, then my job would be to keep that spark consistent. Yeah. First session, second session, third session, I keep reminding them that. And for a lot of the times it works. Because memories, yeah, good times, these things come up. Yeah. People just lose in tune with those things. These things do come up. So anyway, same thing with spirituality. You need that spark, and it has to be maintained. If you don't maintain this spark, you go into spirituality, you would see a lot of people actually becoming worse as they go deeper into that spirituality. Yeah, they join something, then they go in there, they meet a guru or something, and then and then there's competition, and oh, who's closer to the guru, it's like a very normal world, right? Same thing with business. Yeah, who's friends with the CEO, who can get him to promote you. Same thing, it happens. And while you are involved in that, what happens is you lose in touch of your spark. And then you forget you have to be patient, you need morality, you need to be abstinent, you need to be what do we say, you need to use wisdom, all of this is gone. Then more pride, that is more pride, is more jealousy. Oh, that's happening with them, or it becomes a very normal world to you. Don't exist in that world. Just an idea. Perspective again. So yeah, so Buddhism, different approaches to Buddhism. Now, when it comes to different approaches to Buddhism, like I said, one of the first things when it comes to you being a Buddhist, we define it by two things. One is logically becoming Buddhist, like I said. One is based on faith, faithfully becoming Buddhist. A lot of teachers promote faith. Not just Buddhism, every religion. A lot of teachers promote faith. Different religion, other religions, I say, you start with faith. At the end, it's all about faith. Huh? Christianity, you have no faith, you're never going to heaven. No, no, no. You need that. Yeah. So a lot of religion, same thing. You need faith from the starting to the end. When it comes to Buddhism, faith is not very useful. His Holiness always says, no, so much faith, every day pray, 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 doing 100,000 malas, at the end of the day, no change here. And you're not getting far. You have some savings. It's like savings account. You're not investing. You're saving, right? Yeah. If you're not investing and you're saving, you get some benefit out of it. It's still there. I mean, it's usable, but you're not getting the whole benefit out of it. You start investing, you're making the big bucks, right? So this is the whole idea. Now, so similar to that, when it comes to faith, what it happens is when you're first starting, you need a little bit of faith. Not that logic doesn't work; it does work, but it takes time to. Like if I talk about rebirth to someone totally new, I'm like, what? How is this person in that person? How does this person's mind or consciousness go into another person? It doesn't make sense. It takes time to process, right? So in these things, you need a little bit of faith at the beginning. Once you start your journey, you start figuring out things, you start logically, balancing your life, balancing, morality, ethics, all of those things, compassion, love, sincerity, unconditionality. You start balancing all of these, then faith is basically useless. You don't need it. Okay, you can have it, but you don't need it. And faith based, it will only take you so far. And also, you need to be cautious, right? With religion nowadays, so many scams, so many this, so many this, not just Buddhism, everywhere, every religion, same thing. So you need to be very, very careful who you choose, how you choose, what you choose to do with your, with your faith, with the faith that you have. You put your faith in the wrong hands. I have, clients who have faith in the wrong hands and they regret it. They get themselves into trouble and lose all their money. They give their whole life to do something, and at the end of that, they're left with nothing. Don't be careful not to, go into that path. That's why I always say you can get knowledge, but you don't depend. Okay, you get knowledge, you depend on yourself. You are the only person who's going to, who's going to go with you for the whole journey, starting from birth all the way to your death. After death, even if you believe in next life, we'll come to that later. We can debate on how to prove it also. I think it'll be a little bit interesting, maybe. So, starting from birth all the way to death, and if you're into faith, then even after death, this consciousness that you depend on so much, it's going to be there with you, and what you have in it is going to be your backpack when you go into war, right? If you're not carrying all your necessary things while you're going hiking, trekking, war, whatever it is, then you're lost. Yeah. So this consciousness is all the, what do we say, all the what is the word, important things, right? So yeah, so be careful. That's one important thing. Be aware, vigilant. Now coming down to science. Yeah, science, not as in science as in the science we study, but the science of mind, perspectives, views. We talked about, I think, a little bit. Why is it important? What's the difference? The difference is everyone has a different mindset, therefore everyone has a different perspective. And this perspective is a collection of views, that not just views, but views created, formulated, you have achieved, you have, all you have compiled throughout your experiences in life. Yeah? You come from a good family, security, that, this, then you have an experience of all of that. You come from a not so good family where there's no security, where things are chaos. That would be your experience that you have carried with you, and the view you have, how aware of you, right? Someone who has been, what is it, um, uh, traumatized. Is that a word? Traumatized. Yeah. So someone who has experienced traumatization by someone. Traumatization. Is that a word? I don't know. Anyway, I'm making up words. Anyway, so someone who has been traumatized by someone else, his next look on things is, what is it going to be? Vigilant. Right? So now he's going to be aware of people. Now someone approaches it, oh, don't get so near. So that's, what is that? Experience. And your view of seeing that person is based on the experience that you have had. Somebody who has been loved so much, everyone, oh wow, so nice, so this, so good, oh. What's his experience going to be when someone comes? Oh, that person is going to praise me. That person is going to give me something, right? We call that spoiled, is it? Spoiled. Everyone needs to look up to me. Everyone needs to, praise me and be nice to me, and because that's his experience. Throughout life, he has, has grown up in that kind of environment, so that would be his experience. So perspective now. Those experiences, what do they produce? They produce a perspective, certain type of view that you carry that implements things around, not reality. Like I said, doesn't have to be real. It's an implemented view that you have on things. So now, in order to understand what implemented views or perspectives is throughout these things. How do you change views? Is by changing the knowledge and the wisdom that you gain. You gain your wisdom and knowledge. You gain more wisdom and knowledge on science. Your perspective on the world changes. You gain more experience. This thing by following some kind of cult that says the world is flat. That's going to be your perspective. Yeah, you're going to end up with a perspective that says the world is flat. No matter what anyone says, you're going to be very strong. I'm not listening to anyone. This is how it is. Now there your mind is all shut up like that, right? It's all covered up, sealed up. You don't want that, but you want to maintain a firm system that you can carry within yourself, a system that makes sense to you. Now, faith, when it comes to faith, we talk about obedience. I think in Buddhism, a lot of people they they mix between devotion and obedience. Keep this in mind. Mix confusion between devotion and, what is it? Devotion and obedience. So these are the two things that people mix up. Another thing people mix up is devotion and love. When you are so in love with someone, what happens? You become obedient. Do this, yeah, okay, I'll do it. Do that, okay, I'll do it. Then you start become obedient. So now, don't mix that up. One of the famous philosophers of the Gelugpa tradition, Lama Tsongkhapa, very devotional to his teacher, but he would always debate with his teacher with every topic. He would say, when his teacher says this, he would say, no, that's not how it is. This is how it is. That's how he learned a lot. Because the moment you start up and you say, no, I want to understand it, I want to know how it works, that's where you're gaining knowledge, right? If you're sitting there, you're not going to learn anything. Right? You're just going to learn what's been spoken, not further than that. So, anyway, devotion and obedience. You need to be a little bit careful with that. Don't go being obedient because you're devotional. Because in order to prove that you are devotional, never do that. And the second thing is don't fall in love that you become obedient. Also don't do that. Not just dharma, also when it comes to, what do you say, relationships. Yeah. So as a therapist, I also find a lot of people, they start off very obedient, and as life goes on, less obedient and less obedient. As they go on, less and less obedient, what happens? The other person doesn't appreciate. When the other person doesn't appreciate, there's a clash and ends up at problem. So, starting with devotion and then love and obedience. Love and obedience also different. Huh? So these things, we are talking from a very spiritual point of view, but applicable, like I said, like the examples that I'm giving, very applicable in your daily life. When it comes to business, when it comes to relationship, when it comes to anything, experiences, traveling, meditation, whatever it is. These are very applicable. One of the reasons why I pressure, what is it? I see Buddhism and what the years that I've spent studying Buddhism being so precious to me now is because it has given me that that push into that direction and that perspective that I can apply, and it helps me throughout life. So that's why I say philosophy is important. Even if you are not willing to become Buddhist or have any interest in becoming a Buddhist or anything, philosophy, the perspective that it applies is down to point. So that so it being not just that, but a science of the mind and the perspective. Right? So now we come into perspective. There's so many different perspectives that you can apply. It makes a lot of sense if you really study it. Like impermanence. What is impermanence? Change. Yeah. We say cause and effect. Karma. What is karma? Anyone wants to give an idea of what they think karma is? Action. Motivation. So karma is through that action. So action and the result of an action, right? So yeah, good. Anything else? Like the butterfly effect. Yeah, the butterfly effect. Okay, good. So, yeah, very good understanding. Karma. Now, if I ask you, what's the difference between cause and effect and karma? Because I see that action, reaction, result, butterfly effect. We're talking about cause and effect. As in, good one. Okay, we keep that point. Keep that point. Don't say it's wrong. Keep that point. Anything else? Okay. That's a good one. That's a good one. So, makes sense. Cause and condition, karma. Understand impermanence. You understand change, right? When you understand change, you understand that there is a cause to the change, and once the movement from the cause to the effect is the change. If it stayed the same, then it's permanent, right? So impermanence conditions the cause and effect, the changes. Now, when you talk about karma, it is, well, I would say it is cause and effect, no difference. Now, the labeling of karma is given into cause and effect that is extended so long, like I said, so much that is a little bit hard to see on a mere daily basis. As cause and condition, I hit, it makes sound. This is cause and condition. Karma is extended, like the good example that I like to give is a tree, 150 meters or something up. Now the water on top of the water in the leaf on top of the tree comes from the ground. The roots suck it up, right? The root pulls the water into the stem, and then it goes up, and then it goes into the branches, and then goes throughout the branches, and it goes to the leaves. Does that happen in a millisecond? No. Does it happen in a day? Maybe. Does it happen in a year? Maybe. We're not so sure. But the thing is, it takes time to do that, right? It takes time to get the water from inside of the ground, or the minerals from inside of the ground, all the way 150 meters up in the tree, into the top branch, into the leaf. So now that is extended. We can't see it, or we can't. If I say you have to prove that, it's going to be very hard, right? Like it'll be like I'll have to follow one molecule of water that is being pulled up into the stem, and so it's going to be hard. But that's how it works. We know in a very general view that that's how it works, right? All the water there reaches like that. Not all. Some are through the pores anyway. So basically what I'm saying is the idea of how this process works is not visible through a condition where we can say yes, here it is. We need, it's extended. So karma in some ways is extended, not just in this life, but throughout our next lives. Cause and condition extended throughout our next life, something like that. So that's a perspective. Why understand the perspective of impermanence? So we always coming back to the question, why? In the course, I'm sure they taught about impermanence, but why? What do you get by understanding impermanence? What if I say the more reason to be attached? The more reason for you to be attached, because it will disappear. Hold on to it while it exists. So now you get it. Yeah. So it came down to suffering, right? Suffering of change. You see, when you contemplate it, get to these things. Why? How? What is the reason? What benefit they are out of understanding these perspectives? How you can apply these perspectives? That's important again. So you see, now this is impermanence. Now we go on to, let's talk about emptiness. Yeah, the merely labeled I. You call it the intrinsic nature of things. So emptiness, a lot of people, a lot of teachers, they teach emptiness as an emptiness this and emptiness that and emptiness this and emptiness that. I think from to a degree that is wrong. I would always apply the view of emptiness, because it's merely a view that you can apply. It's not something that exists in the nature of things. Okay, like I said, this thing the view to my view towards it is intrinsic of nature. Yeah. For me, this is a mic that is used for me to, at this point, that kind of view that is being applied. Similar, I think one of the best example is your family, your that, your this. Your kid passes away, your heart breaks. It's so emotionally, hard to carry. But when you hear someone else's kid died, it's not as as stabbing as it is. You feel bad, you feel sorry for the person, so on and so forth, a little bit compassion, but not to that extent. Now someone who you don't know at all, totally at all, and no feeling, right? And every second, what, 6 people die in the world? I think, scientific proof something like that. Anyway, so every second there's people dying, but we are not aware of them. Therefore, the pain of people dying is not there. So these are all basis on what? Labeling. The moment you start labeling it as yours, starts to become important, right? Someone you met 2 days ago, someone you met 2 days ago, 2 days before that person wasn't important. 2 days ago you met that person. What is it? First sight love. First what love? Ah, yeah, love at first sight. Suddenly that person is very important to you. Perspective, right? So now comes the view of emptiness. This labeling of the importance of that doesn't mean the person doesn't exist. Of course the person exists. He goes around, eats, does that, do this, does everything. But the labeling that you have given to that person doesn't exist. It's merely labeled. The conception is there. You mean the view of emptiness or that view? Or the view of emptiness is not, I wouldn't say it's sacred. Important, yes. Why important? In order to understand the reality of things. Yeah. If you are always applying your perspective of things on something, what happens? Yeah, you're confused, you become lost. Yeah, because everyone else understands things differently than you. Why? And you are not understanding it in that way. Why? Because you're only applying your own view. So now comes the perspective. If you're only applying your perspective of things is never going to be solved. Let's say a problem, for instance. We are facing a problem. That person says it's like this, that person says it's like this, that person says it's like this. Now the three people are discussing within the problems. And I'm sitting there and thinking, okay, that makes sense. Okay, that doesn't make sense. Okay, that makes sense. We come to a mutual understanding. Then what happens? The problem is on the way to be solved. Now, that's why, judges have to be very, they can't support one or two. They need to inspect everything, and there's research is being done and so on and so forth. And then it becomes a complete, okay, that's how it's going to be. And that's how things work, right? That's how things start to work, basically. Whether it works or not, I don't know, but that's how things start to work. So being able to apply a mutual view of the reality of things is very important in order to understand reality. If you are engrossed only in your view and a perspective that you apply, you are never going to see things differently. You're never going to see things as they are. Right? There's this Richard Dawkins, a famous saying, in order to enjoy the garden, why do you need to believe that there are fairies in the garden? You don't need to do that. Right? The garden is beautiful in its own way. Yeah? The moment you start saying, oh, there's fairies, and it becomes beautiful to you, but that's not real. It's just a perspective that you apply. So similarly, that's the concept. So reality versus a view that is applied from your what do we say, your formulation or compilation of perspective that you apply. So now, in order to make whether, in order to figure out whether that makes sense or not, now that's important, right? If I say it's a view, then you'll be saying, okay, that's also a view. What's the difference? My view is a view, that is also a view. Why is that view so good and my view so bad? Now we're talking about the view being applied and really understanding the view. So if you talk about nature in things, reality in things, that's where we come to apply the perspective, right? Yeah? Does your phone matter more than it should matter to me? If it's reality, then it should matter to everyone. It should be as important it is to me as it is important to you. And your phone is not so important to me, which is reality to me. But for you, is that reality? Your phone not being important to you? No, it's a total difference. So now you see the changes in reality. You're pulling the reality apart there. What is real and what is not real? Yeah? You say, oh, this is my company, this is my car, this is my house. There's a very, very strong attachment to it. The minute something starts to happen, someone bumps into your car, you're getting mad and anger and depression, and you're pulling out your hair, and all of these things start to happen. Now, why? If it was a reality, the minute the car was struck, everyone in the world should be going like this, ah, because that's the reality, right? But it's not. Perspectives are totally different, and that's where it changes things. So in order to understand reality, you need to understand a common ground that things are based on. And that's the perspective. Understanding it, yeah? Make sense? For point? Now, coming down to the point why it's important in Buddhism is, like I said earlier, the grasping attitude, the self-grasping attitude. The me, my, I. It's at the end of the day, we're using objects, and this I'm using all kinds of different objects and things to prove to you. But at the end of the day, it's applicable to each and every single object. That includes yourself as well. Your view of you. Yeah. So now that's where we talked about understanding yourself, whether you should understand yourself or not understand yourself, right? So now, because it's applicable to every object, it's also applicable to you. And therefore, when it comes to applying to you, what is your view of yourself? Now that matters. What is your view of you? I'm handsome, I'm that, I'm this, I'm good, I'm. Is that reality? Does everyone see you like that? Yeah, changes things. So it's important to think about those things. Now, this is a view of emptiness. Now we have a view of something. Let's talk about compassion, the supreme emotion, we call it. Why is it so supreme? Why is compassion so great? Why should we all develop compassion? What do we get out of it? Why is love so important? Process. Yeah, we are always talking about being good-hearted, being nice, being compassionate, being, showing love, caring. But why is it important? What do you get out of caring? Some people are fed up of caring. They care. At the end of the day, they come. I mean, I've had people. I've cared for that person so much. I've given so much. I've been so much. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make a difference. So are you caring to make a difference? That's the first question I ask. Are you caring because you really care, or are you caring because in order to make a difference? So now you understand why. You start to understand why this matters to you. Why is love important? Yeah? You start loving people. You talk about Buddhism. Buddhism, from one perspective, is a little bit, oh, all mother sentient beings, all the, this, all the beings from not just this realm but that realm and those realms and all around the universe, and every in a single atom. Do you really think you'll be able to what is it to bring up a compassion that, I mean, something that has so extensive? Love is okay. You can love one person, you can love two person, you can love a dog, you can love a parrot, yeah? You can love a job, you can love doing something, like I said, relaxing, going to a spa, you can love doing that. But now love and compassion is different again. Love has to do with attachment, has to do, not all love, don't differentiate. Compassion is a form of love. Not all love, but most love has to do with something to do with attachment, something to, it's conditioned, sometimes it's not so sincere. Genuine, probably most love is genuine. Sincere, unconditional is debatable. Compassion has all three. It's sincere, it has to be unconditional, and it has to be genuine. Supreme, that's why it's a supreme emotion. So understanding what compassion is, why it's so important, for what reason. And then if you want to go deeper into Buddhism and the philosophy, then you need to understand why it's so important to apply this compassion to each and every sentient being in this and that and all these universes and single atoms and that. Yeah, you need to understand that. What you say, don't concentrate on the, your main goal at the end should be understanding this, but don't try to understand, like don't try to push, try to understand it, but don't try to push yourself into that at the beginning. It has to start from class 1, class 2, class 3, proceed as you go, right? So start from love. Yeah. Anyway, that's also a perspective, that's an emotional perspective that you can apply. Now you have, let's talk about renunciation. Anyone know what renunciation is? I'm sure they talked about the course. Renunciation is a big topic. Bodhicitta, renunciation, and the view of emptiness. Something we always talk about. Yeah, please. Yeah, nice, nice. So not giving up and going to a cave, but mhm, giving up the attachment towards those things. Nice. Anyone else wants to go give a go? Yes. Definite emergence. Ah, definite emergence as an emerging coming out of it, or emergence as is emergency emergence? Ah, okay. Okay, okay. Ah, nice. All three of you are right. That's good. So renunciation, duje, koa, jem pungbo. Duje, what's that? Nyejung. Nyejung is renounce. When we're talking about renounce, a lot of people apply renounce as in what do we say? Giving up, renounce, right? Renounce means letting go, giving up. So that's the real, I mean, that's the word what renounce means. When it comes to renounce, then comes the question, what to renounce? And the idea of renounce has always to do with something that is not good for you, eh? Something that we don't want, suffering. We don't want suffering. Something that is not good for you, problems. Problems are not good for you. And something that takes you on the wrong path, leads you somewhere. I don't know. This is also a perspective, right? Up and down. Down is supposed to be bad, and up is supposed to be good. I don't know. I don't know why, but so anyway, something that pulls you down. You don't know. You renounce something that pulls you down. Something that is bad. Something that is not good. Something that has to be negated. So renunciation, negating. The concept of negating comes down to the idea of samsara. Yeah. But then the question, I think the real question is, when you talk about negating samsara, what is samsara? I think you want to say something? So perspective. Uh, Okay, okay. Renounce that. The reality. Good, good, good. So you have one perspective that is creating so much problem, and renouncing means renouncing that perspective in order to benefit, right? Gain something out of it. So now, let's say, for example, the view of emptiness. If I started applying the view of emptiness, would I not have any problem anymore? Like, is the opposite of the view of emptiness all the other views other than the view of emptiness? If I start renouncing all of that, will I get to the point where you think I should be getting to? So we talked about the view of emptiness, right? So the view of emptiness is applied in order to get rid of your perspective of things, right? Your own a view that is based on your attachment and anger and hatred and your own love and your own grasping attitude apply. Once you get rid of that through meditating on emptiness, you get rid of all of those views. So now I'm asking if that would be the epiphany of realizing, or negating, renouncing. Yeah, makes sense, right? If you said, yeah, so this is good. Now we're getting one thing. We talked about perspective. So now I would say, when we talk about renouncing, we're always talking about, like you said, renouncing samsara. So now the question comes whether those perspective is what samsara is. Is samsara a perspective? Absolutely. Someone's confident. Very confident. Good, good, good. So now when we say samsara, what do you understand? Mm. Mm. So now that's also a little bit of, it goes, I think it's quite similar. It goes down to the perspective part, right? Yeah. So like I said, it goes to the perspective point where you say you practice the view of emptiness and you concentrate on it, and then while you're concentrating on it, you're negating all of the rest. The grasping attitude, the view of all those different views. Now you're left with renunciation. Ah, okay. So now you added something. Good. Wrong views. So now that would be more. It'll be wider, right? Okay. So now we have three views, and then you have karma, which is not exactly a view, right? Cause and effect. Karma is not exactly a view. Anyone else wants to add? Huh? So in samsara, there's three things: duje, korwa, pungbo. Duje, accumulation of of things that are uh, what do we say, based on change, yeah, impermanent things. Duje, korwa, which is samsara itself. Now when we say samsara, we are talking about siva korwa, right? Siva korwa. Samsara is representative of the wheel. Yeah. Representative of the wheel of dharma, we call it, right? The wheel of dharma. You have the six realms, and the inside within the six realms you have the inner realms, and then you have the root ignorance, and anger and hatred, and then you have this whole bunch of things in it. So there it's included, perspective is included. Then you have inclusion of body. Now the third one is body. Umbo. Umbo means body. This body itself is samsara, because everything starts with the body. Yeah. The moment, if only the mind existed without the body, there wouldn't be that chaos of pushing and pulling. So it starts with the body. Yeah. Then the grasping attitude also, you would see that most of the grasping attitude, you can actually pinpoint all of the grasping attitude coming down to the body. And this body, because, like I said, karmic effect of the body, right? Conditions that we have compiled up, ending us at a point where we have this body that we need to, keep up to. So it's a compilation of all of those things that makes the formation of samsara. And that's something, that's again something we can talk about later on, discussion. But you somehow 20 minutes, huh? Yeah. So anyway, again, one perspective that we can talk about, question answer later. I think you want to continue just the talk, or you want to do some question answers in the morning? Huh? Continue? Enjoy? Oh, good. Yeah. Okay. Um, so yeah, so now these are all, what are these all? Perspectives that you can apply in order to understand, in order to not understand, but have a wider understanding of things, of reality. Yeah. Starting from the view of the self, yeah, the I, me, my view, the grasping attitude, view of the grasping attitude, all the way to the view of renunciation. So these are all views that you can apply in order to understand reality, where you are at. And then from this view, what you do is you apply these views in order to benefit you. I know it sounds a little bit cheesy coming from a Buddhist, but that's how you start. I like to tell this story a lot, where Buddha tried everything, and then he went and he found one guru, and this guru said, "Oh, you need to starve yourself by eating only one grain of, I don't know what, some magical grain of rice or something like that." So anyway, so you starve yourself. So Buddha did this. He starved himself 6 years. He lived on that. Anyway, there's many stories on what it really is. Some say it's a very, uh, some say it's just a grain of rice. Some say there's 6 grains of rice. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know which one is the true one. But let's keep it to that story, right? It's not important what it is. Anyway, so 6 years he starved himself. After doing all of that, that was after he stood in the sun, after he slept on the nail bed, and after he did all kinds of different things to get rid of the suffering. And then finally, after 6 years, he opened his eyes, and his nails are long, his hair is long, his flesh is rotting, and he's smelling very bad, and nothing's good about that, right? So he said, I can't concentrate. I want to have a shower. So he goes into the river and wants to take a bath. Because he's so weak, the river starts carrying him out, right? And he's not strong enough to swim. He's about to die. And he thinks, okay, that's a waste, right? All these years that I'm trying to figure out, now I'm dying. And then, he has this branch, right? This branch which caught him, and he survived. That's when he made the huge change. He said, okay, I need to keep this alive. This is important. I need this, right? I need this body, right? I need to be able to speak. I need to be able to see. I need to be able to hear. If I really want to help people, I need this body. So renouncing this body is not the idea. Yeah, renounce the body doesn't mean go and jump off a bridge or jump off a building or something. No, 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 no. The idea of renouncing samsara and the body is connected to the idea of this body itself being samsara. This is totally different. Renouncing it again is a different method of renouncing. Get rid of, you're thinking, throw it, burn it, I don't know, something. No, no, no. And there's a nice way of, you don't want to eat an apple where someone peels the skin with his nails like that, right? There's a way of peeling apple. You need to peel it nicely. So similar to that is a way of getting rid of the negating object. So all of these views, when it comes, at the end of the day, it comes down to applying this perspective in order to gain benefit. And in order to gain benefit for you, that's why the you is important. A lot of teachers would say, you are not important, you are useless, you are that, you are this, you need to get rid of the I and the grasping attitude and this and that. Don't start with that. That's not your starting point. If you start with that, oh, you're in big trouble. Don't start with that. You need to love yourself. Yeah. Well, it's what you feel comfortable with. Yeah. It's wearing a shoe. It's either you don't wear a shoe or you wear a shoe, right? Doesn't mean you can't walk. Plenty of people walk without wearing shoes. And plenty of people have walked the earth throughout centuries without wearing shoes, and they haven't had any problem. But what does wearing a shoe do? It gives you more comfort. Yeah, that's problem. You're minimizing the problem. Going into a monastic system in order to study all of this or practice or whatever it is gives you benefits. It helps you throughout the way. But it doesn't have to be that way. That's the difference. Like I said, choices. Everyone has different choices. Some people like to go into the wild wilderness, quiet place to meditate because it's easier to meditate. Some people like to challenge themselves and go into in the middle of the road in the city and meditate because then they're really doing their best. So it's what comforts you. The assurance is there because once you're in a monastic system, you don't have to worry about all of it. I mean, it's 21st century, of course. You need to worry to a point, but not everything. You don't have a family to look after. You don't have to care about a house or a car. Financially, yes, you need to travel. You need to do this, that. But there are certain things out of your life that you don't have to. It makes things easier, right? Like wearing a shoe. Yeah, there are rocky things, pointy things. Makes you easier, and you don't even realize that the stones are rocky or pointy when you're wearing a shoe. Because when you're not wearing a shoe, you're going, ow, 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 ow. So that makes a difference. So renouncing can be that, but only if you choose to make it that. That one you need to know. With life, one of the lessons of life is can be that. It can be anything. Yeah, your choice. That's the beauty of life. We have choice, decisions. We have the capability of deciding. We are mentally capable of making decisions. And who's the decision up to? Not as someone else. It's up to you. Whether you want to proceed, whether you don't want to proceed, whether you want to do, whether you don't want to do. It's totally up to you. Yeah. So with all of this in mind, whether you feel comfortable enough to renounce a way and follow a different path where things become a little bit easier for you, then go ahead. But you need to be ready. No, being in a monastic system has its own problems, of course. There you go, you have to wake up 4 in the morning, you need to join classes, you need to go into debate, you need to study a lot, you need to do a lot of those things. One of the reasons why, well, anyway, we can talk about that later. But anyway, the systematic thing that's been set up, whether you're okay with it, whether you're not okay with it, whether you're okay with how many years it takes to graduate, which I wasn't okay with. So, it's up to you. Like I said, there are perks, there's pros and cons. But it's what you feel comfortable with that matters. Make sense? What were we talking about before this? No, we are way past renunciation. We have already renounced. What are you talking about? Yeah, so understanding what you need in order to practice. What is important? What is the most important thing that you need in order to practice? Anyone? Motivation. Anything else? Understanding of I? Good. Anything else? Let's just human rebirth. Okay, good. 3. A teacher. 4. Very nice. Anything else? Everyone has their own reasons. I would say it's the mind. First thing, that's my perspective, like I said. But you can have, like, some say the precious human rebirth becomes the most important part. Some say Guru. Without a guru, you are nothing. You cannot reach anywhere. I mean, it's 21st century. You open Google, and that becomes your guru. There's tons of teachings in there. You can just karmically how connected you are will make a difference. Yes, but there, like I said, but for me, I would say it's the mind. The mind becomes most important. It's like the vessel to hold everything that you're going to put into the pot. Yeah, if the mind is not is cracked, then everything you're putting in is going to initially start to drip out. If the mind is not stable, then it's going to end somewhere else. I would say it's the mind. But anyway, you have your logic, you have your perspective. We can discuss on it later. Yeah, what is that? Precious human rebirth, guru. So we can debate on it later on. But like I said, my perspective would be that because I view that the mind is the most important thing. My advice always is you need to protect your mind. Whether it's something so good you are doing, if it disturbs your mind, that's the minute you need to start to wonder whether it's going to help you or not. Because good things can also be too much. Yeah? If you are mentally incapable of handling so much good, then how are you going to do it? So you need to be mentally prepared to be able to handle that. Like I said, the perspective of compassion, genuine, sincere, unconditional love towards all mother sentient beings, in all the universes and all the nooks and corners of all the atoms. That is way beyond me. Like, is it not to you? I don't know. Are you capable of being able to handle that? So, see, you need to be able to be prepared mentally. That's what protecting your mind. And then second is the body. Like the teaching of the Buddha, very good teaching. And like I said, well, walked into the river, nearly drowned, found out, okay, this is important. So the second one becomes body. So I always say, if Buddha was in a place where people did not know how to eat, he wouldn't be teaching you Four Noble Truths and the 10 Commandments and that and this and all. He would be teaching you how to eat. You need to eat. Yeah. So second thing becomes the body. You need to take care of that. You need to learn to love that, nurture it. Mind is the most precious thing you will ever have in your whole life. You want to get rich? That's your way. Look after the mind. Prepare it to get rich, and you'll become rich. You want to become spiritually attain something? Look after your mind. That's what will take you to all this attainment and enlightenment. It's the mind. Nothing, no, nothing else. Yeah. You want to be able to handle problems, anger, all this stress, emotional. What do you need to take care of? Mind. Need to learn how to tweak it, how to work around it, how to form it, how to manage it. It's going to be your only and your best, what we say, formidable weapon that you can use. You guide the mind, it will follow where you guide it towards. You want to become a destructive person, someone like Adolf Hitler, who killed millions, killed people, a lot of people, in a very bad way. You can do that. That is made capable because of you want to become someone so loved in the other world who can spread so much love. Mind is going to be able to do that. So my first advice to everyone always take care of your mind. The second one, take care of yourself. The combination of the body and the mind. Learn to love yourself. Learn to appreciate yourself. Learn to, what we say, control yourself. Become the master of yourself. And then when it comes to those, then how do you do all of that? Then comes the, we say the paramitas. Right? I'm not very good with the Buddhist terminology, so I wrote it down. I hope you don't mind me, looking at it from time to time. I can say it in Tibetan very easily, but when it comes to English, I have a little bit of problem. So then you have to, the paramitas. We start with Jimba, generosity, discipline, patience, diligence, meditation, concentration, wisdom, skillfulness, aspiration, yeah, premature wisdom. These are the things, these are each and everything. If you start learning about these things, they go so in deep. They are so useful in your daily life. Very useful. But you need to know how to apply it, right? And that's all to do with working on your mind. It's not about working on someone else's mind. No, no, no. It's all about working on your mind. So important again. So I think we need it there. I need to go to the washroom. So yeah, we'll take a break. And you want to what was it? 145. Hey, 145. Yeah. So sorry, I was thinking we could do a question answer, but I need to go to the toilet. So 145, yeah. And then if there's anything you want to discuss on, talk on, want to know, think I can help you with, you write it down. We can talk about later on. We still have hour and a half after 145. Formally easy and informally very easy. Formally very easy. Relax. Oh, yeah. So just jot down. We can talk about it later. Thank you. Mm. Thank you.